Hi, I'm Andrea Warren, co-founder of the Parent Empowerment Summit. And today we have Dr. Reed again. I hope you were able to see her webinar on stress in the family on Monday. Dr. Reed developed and chairs the Bachelor of Science in Wellness and Health Promotion at Cambridge College. But today she's here to talk about her time as an educational consultant for the curriculum based on the feature film Milton's Secret, which is based on Eckhart Tolle's work on mindfulness. Dr. Reed, it's a pleasure to have you here with us again today. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I've really enjoyed having these conversations with you. And I am so excited to be able to share this movie and the incredible lessons that Eckhart Tolle has embedded throughout, and with the directing of it from Barnett Bain, and really bringing it to life in a way that I think is really empowering for the people that have the opportunity to watch it. So I thank you, and I love that we are just going to be able to start off right now with people getting a glimpse of the making of the movie, and you'll find out from this short video clip why we all feel that this is such an important movie. And Andrea, I'm just going to let you take it away and let it speak for itself.
All right, well, let's go.
I live on planet Fear, where there are thoughts like storm clouds everywhere I look.
Milton's Secret is about a boy in crisis. His family is struggling financially, and also, his parents are struggling in their relationship. And because of that stress, they're not really paying a lot of attention to him.
Dad, and I love you very much. And sometimes we just get caught up in these other things.
Being a 12-year-old kid, just a regular 12-year-old kid, and having to manage almost hold the whole world on your shoulders in his life is really difficult.
Are we gonna lose the house?
So you're not asking me that. Milton? What's going on in there?
I'm good! I'm in bed! Milton's feeling very overwhelmed. He can't find any happiness.
I think it's about finding calm within chaos. I think it's about this middle class kind of neuroses where you have enough to live, but you're petrified of losing what you have. So all you do is work, and it begins to ruin your life.
Jane, it's not a crisis, it's a worry. If we have to, we'll take a loan out against the retirement fund. Everything's gonna be fine.
Let's talk about this later.
The husband's doing his part, and the wife's doing her part, and the kid, is just walking his path and trying to learn about life. And then all of a sudden, this wonderful individual, the grandfather figure, comes in and just sheds a new light on what a day looks like.
And Stuart Howard in this film has lost contact with his daughter Jane.
I'm concerned that some of your life choices have been very unconventional lately, Bill, right?
Yes, no. Am I
Right?
seriously doing Zumba?
His presence is able to instill him with a peacefulness and a joyousness. She and her husband, Bill, and the son.
Jane is like, an elastic band that's pulled, that's just about to snap. Has so much going on inside of her and so much pressure, and I loved the idea that playing somebody who is that explosive and implosive. I think to work with Donald Sutherland is a huge privilege.
You're a grandfather. You are not a 20-year-old man.
Honestly, Dad.
He's a very good man, Stuart Howard. He was a soldier in British. For you and me. He gave up war and killing, taking a life, Milton. causing a hurt to someone steals a piece of you. I read the script, and it's not normally the kind of picture that I would do, but there was something about the character that captivated me, captured me. I loved him.
Do you do anything normally, Grandpa?
Let's suck at this.
I feel so broke up.
I want to go home. It was an immensely enjoyable experience. I loved coming to work.
$100 by tomorrow. Or you'll be sorry. Milton is going through a hard time at school with a bully named Carter. Oops. Carter, you're such a jerk. Stay out of this, princess. Carter. What? What's Millie Willie gonna do, huh? And he's trying to find a way to stop the bullying without telling his parents. It's a hard thing to say, but I was bullied back in first grade and through second and third grade too, so that was a difficult thing to get through.
It was pretty brutal at school. My clothes weren't fashionable. I didn't really have friends. I was really into drama, so my peers thought it was kind of weird. And I didn't have the things that make a kid fit in. So as a result, I was pretty isolated for those years.
You wanna do something, Millie Willie? What's wrong, Millie Willie? I just had to talk to my parents. Talking to anyone, really, that is an adult, your guardian. As long as there's someone you can talk to, it just makes you feel so much better.
The problem that you got running around in your head right now, don't worry them to death. Just let your heart make sense to them. They're house guests. But they all go eventually.
If anything, I would love the film to speak to kids that are being bullied, that find themselves isolated, and perhaps a film like this will help those kids at least understand that there are alternatives to the isolation and the sadness that comes with being targeted at school.
I met Steven, one of the producers on the project, and he told me about the book Milton's Secret, and then he said Eckhart Tolle had participation in the story, and I was like, I'm in. I just love that guy's mind.
It's a nice story, and I think the values that Milton's Secret is promoting are good. They're simple, they're direct, they're universal, I think, and they're necessary for the times that we live in.
You never listen. Turn your cell off.
Okay. I'm all yours. Talk to me. I'm also, a fan of Eckhart Tolle. I'm a reader of his work, and so I was interested to be a part of a project that was going to get his work out in a different way, and through a film, through a narrative film, and through the eyes of a child.
It's like taking spirituality and placing a rational common sense to it that is blatantly obvious when it's said to you, but like you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, I can't believe I lived my life this whole time without recognizing that aspect of human consciousness. That's what Eckhart Tolle does to me.
I mean, I'm not in the future now. I'm in the past. I'm right here. With you. Now.
I think Grandpa Howard gives him the power of being in the moment. So right now, I'm talking to you and just doing an interview for the EPK, and I'm just not thinking about what will happen after this or what happened before this. I'm here right now.
Wow. I love that trailer. It just does, you know, highlights so many of the high points in the film and the impact on the actors. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, wonderful. Well, can you tell us how you became involved? I mean, let's start at the beginning.
Sure. I think it was really kind of a serendipitous type of a moment where I had just happened to find out about the project. I had the opportunity to read the script. And of course, I knew about Eckhart Tolle and have incorporated a lot of his work and the concepts of mindfulness and meditation into courses that I've been teaching for over 20 years. And knowing the impact that he's had, and I remember specifically a webinar that he had done with Oprah several years ago now, where he was speaking about his new book at the time, which was A New Earth, and literally 35 million people viewed that webinar, which was amazing. And many people know him for The Power of Now, but I really felt that once I read that script, I could see that I could integrate lessons from this movie in just so many ways. And where I looking at the negative effects of chronic normalized stress, I was also really aware of the evidence base on mindfulness that is now just incredible in terms of the growth and the depth of what we have in terms of scientific evidence on how this can be really effective in reducing stress, increasing tension and focus and concentration and calming people down, reducing things like anxiety and all of these various different things. And it was like, I was so excited to be part of this that I started to, you know, speak to the producers from Mindful World and talk about the way I saw that this could be applied. And that is really where it happened. And one thing just led to another. And I feel that this movie really can work as a springboard for really important conversations that we need to engage in. It gives us a chance to increase our own awareness. And it also offers a view in how we can look at doing life differently. So that's really my interest here and what makes me so excited.
Well, there's a lot of good reasons to be excited. And like you said, I mean, Eckhart Tolle, I remember I had the Power of Now and New Earth both on audio CD, and my husband and I used to drive, and he used to travel a lot, and that was sort of our go-to, because just so much, you know, with learning mindfulness for the first time, and that was early on, he just had so many simple ways to do it. So getting back to that, I mean, who may be interested in a movie like this?
So, you know, you can tell that I'm biased and extremely passionate about this. But honestly, I feel like the relevance here is, you know, for people who are experiencing stress, there's no question about that. For parents, for kids, for anybody involved in families or couples or family life or elders. But also importantly, a very important theme in this movie also is about bullying and people who are interested in finding ways to address the person who's being bullied, the bullier, and all of the ramifications of that. People are interested in finding effective ways to be able to reduce violence. Also, grandparents, teachers, counselors, pastors, clergy, rabbi, I think even healthcare providers, and not just, you know, pediatricians, but really anybody who's interacting with a broad base of patients, and anyone specifically who's working with kids or families or couples. And I also feel people who are really open and looking to create a positive change in this world, I think is really a big piece of this. So as we talked about with the movie, I don't know why I'm sorry. So as we saw in the brief clips that you had just seen, is that we live in this kind of stress-filled world, and there's so many things that are going on with everyone every day. We see that, you know, it's a modern day family, and many of the challenges we can relate to in various different ways, even if we're not experiencing the same thing, but we can certainly relate to what they're going through. And each member of this family is struggling. Milton's father's a little bit stuck in the past, the way things were, but he's also consumed with work and the never interruptions of his cell phone. His mother is worried about her future, her relationship with her husband, their finances, will they be able to hold it all together? But she also is holding on to the past with some resentments about her father and his not being fully there for her. And they're both so preoccupied with what's going on in their lives in that present time, and the fact that they're pulled into the future and into the past, that they really miss a lot of what's happening with their son. They're certainly not bad people. They're great parents. They really care. But it's hard when we've got all of these things coming at us to be fully present and catch exactly what's going on. So Milton's not only worried about the fact that he's being bullied at school, but he's worried about his family and their finances. And he's got these questions about, am I enough? Will I be enough? And what do we do with that? And then, as we saw, the grandfather comes to town and offers a completely different way of being, as was pointed out. And I think Donald Sutherland just did such an incredible job of really sliding right into this role and truly becoming the essence, really, of mindfulness. And John Kabat-Zinn says mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose. So it's not by accident, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And Eckhart Tolle talks about being fully present now.
Oh, I loved him in this movie. The way he presented it too, it was so doable, right? I mean, Milton didn't feel like, hey, I can actually do what Grandpa Howard's doing and be at peace. So I loved the way he conveyed or showed mindfulness throughout the film.
And I think that's exactly it. And I think it's also then the power of the film, because now we can see somebody kind of doing it. It's not a lecture on mindfulness. He never lectures Milton. He never lectures his daughter. He just shows up differently. And I think that is really the key here. And we are all so much on automatic pilot in so many areas of our lives. And frankly, many of us feel like, well, we kind of need to be in order to try and fit everything in. And here he shows up. He still gets things done. And that is, again, one of the beautiful things about this, is that we see that this grandfather can show up and be very effective with the family and still do things, but he just has this different quality about him, which I think is really important. So as we talked about, there are many important themes here: the stress, the worry, the parenting, the bullying. As I said, there are many people that have experienced bullying. And I want to just say, this is not just specific to kids. This is also with adults. Bullying takes place everywhere and in so many different kinds of forums. And we need to be paying attention to this. And one way is to, bolster our resilience and increase our self-esteem and our self-confidence, and also at the same time letting go of worry and anxiety. And these are all things that, by the way, are much easier said than done. There's a simple theory here, but the practice of it takes a little time. And I think that when you start to practice, mindfulness, as we talked about and stressed the other day, it's like just being able to take this deep breath, being able to pause, just grab your breath for a second. And as we had spoken about, Andrea, I love, there's a great app. It's free. The basic portion of it is free, called Headspace. And it helps people just enter into this without like saying, oh my God, what do I have to change my entire life? And I don't have time for this. And it's like the beginning parts of this can really be simple, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It can be easy. And if you have just a few moments a day, you can start to integrate mindfulness practice, and you will likely see a difference in just how you show up. And as Mia Kirshner said in the movie, and she's the mother, that there's this calm amidst chaos. And it's hard to describe that to people, but that's what continuing into a practice of mindfulness can help to create. And your decision-making is better. Your relationships are better. You have the ability to start to heal things that have gone on in your life. You have the capacity to heal, to forgive, and really to love, to be present in a different way. And by the way, these themes also relate to grandparents. Grandparents are oftentimes parenting kids today. But sometimes people later in life feel like, wow, I wished I had gone back and had a different relationship with my kids, or maybe I wished I had done some things differently. This offers opportunities there as well. So where this ended up with in terms of the movie and the curriculum for people to bring home is with two major themes. And one is presence in the family, and the other is escaping planet fear. So in escaping planet fear, even though we're all sort of connected 24/7 through the use of technology and media and everything, we've also become very disconnected from each other and from ourselves. Excuse me, that's more about the presence in the family. But this idea of the social media also puts us on edge a little bit. I mean, many people love it. I think there's been some wonderful things about social media, but at the same time, it gets us wrapped up in another dimension, if you will, another type of reality where we're wondering if we are good enough. This really links back to that feeling of anxiety. And many people, you know, hey, I got this many likes, therefore I'm worthy. I'm a good person. I'm okay. And that plays havoc on nearly everyone, not everyone, but it's also particularly concerning when you're talking about kids and how they're living their lives. And
well, this
idea of
I'm sorry. I was going to say they even talk about, right, the dopamine effects of the likes and the anxiety that causes on kids and social media. Because
absolutely,
definitely, and that affects your health, your body, mind, and spirit.
Exactly. And as Eckhart Tolle says, that, you know, planet fear is where we live most of our lives. We're caught up in this place where we're either overthinking or worried, or we've got these automatic negative thoughts. And we spend so much time in that space of being worried and being fearful and having apprehension that it becomes normal. And when parents are in that place, it becomes something that they inadvertently, not intentionally, but inadvertently kind of pass on to their kids. It gets projected, it gets picked up. It's like when you're around somebody that tends to be overly concerned about everything, you start to feel a little anxious yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so we pass these things on. So I think that when we want to interrupt this, you know, we can come at this differently, and we can be more present and really let go of being in this fearful environment by really being present in the moment and recognizing that a lot of the worry that we put into things doesn't either manifest, or it takes up so much time. So whenever the thing is that happens, it's not nearly as bad in some ways because we've spent so much time worrying, and really that honestly ends up to be like a waste of our time. It doesn't make us happier. And when we choose to really escape, we start to experience the joy in life again. And also when we're thinking about the idea of presence in the family, everybody is multitasking. We've all got stuff that has to be done. The list goes on and on. And as I was starting to say before, we start to be, even though we're connected, we get disconnected. Too often, these scenes that you see here, you might, a family sitting down having a meal together might see everybody on their cell phone, or, you know, just otherwise distracted, looking out the window, not focusing on each other and what's happening in that particular moment. We are so busy, so preoccupied, we don't even realize that we're doing what we're doing or not doing what we're doing. You know, it's like we think that we're there. And I think this is particularly true with parents. They have so much stress and demands that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that we're trying to keep up. Everybody is just really trying to make it work. And so many influences from externally as well as our own internal thoughts contribute to that, so that we have missed the opportunity to be fully present here. Benefits here in terms of this movie. It's a gift to be able to be present with someone, even in good times, in bad times, in everyday times. You know, just showing up and actually being there makes a huge difference for people. And I think that when we really think about what the potential of this movie is, it's about being able to be more fully present in our own lives. I think this is a great tool that we can use. And it helps us to let go of this constant judging of ourselves,
Right.
as well as the constant judging of other people, which sets us into motion for things like bullying, violence, and disharmony, and poor and broken relationships. It really can help us to become aware and to have an alternative to chronic anxiety and worry and stress that truly has become the norm for so many people. And when we can start to just pause, to take that deep breath, to reflect, to be aware, to think about doing some things differently, then
Right.
we really can experience joy in our families. And maybe that sounds a little over the top in some ways, but it's truly the moments in life that really gives us this sense of joy and peace and happiness and this contentment. And that's what our kids are going to remember. That's what we're going to remember. And so I am just so thrilled that you've given me the opportunity to share about this movie, Andrea. I just really encourage people to check it out. These literally on those two themes, these curriculum guides were meant to be brought home so that you can use it with your family, and offering very concrete, easy activities that you can do and start to implement now. This is not something that's going to take you years. These are simple, doable ways to start today, to start to implement some of these strategies that can really increase the quality of people's lives, and so important in terms of increasing the quality of our families.
No, and that's when, when we started talking about that, the movie and the curriculum guides, that's why I was so excited to have you here, because that was really my big why on doing this summit, was to provide resources that were simple, that parents could use, that were affordable, and that they could start using right away. So, I've seen the movie 4 times, so I get to do my little plug for you guys here because I love it. The reason why I watch it 4 times is I watch it alone, and I literally watch it with each person in my family because I'm so interested, being a researcher myself, on what their takeaways were, and for my kids, which I know we talked a little bit about this, but I want to make sure people hear this part. There's this real discussion about the bully himself and how to look at the bully. And I think that's a huge takeaway that so many of us are missing. So I so appreciated them showing both sides. So, for my kids, that was a huge takeaway. So again, we are honored that you guys came on, and Dr. Reed, that you were able to share the impact this movie has. I highly recommend that people, watch it, grab the guides, and, be able to learn how this can really empower your family, empower you, empower your kids. But we know where we're getting, because my questions at the end of each and every one of my interviews, and we know that this is a simple curriculum guide, so we know that's one of the must-dos. But what would be, after sharing this amazing movie with us, what would you say would be the number one thing you would say to parents you could start today?
Well, of course, there's always watching the movie. There's no question.
Well, that's a good one.
and I also realize that then that takes a little bit more time. But I think just the pause and reflect and just see where you are today. Do you feel like you're caught up in so much stuff, the to-do list, the work, the expectation, the kids, the families, the obligations? Just pause for a minute. Allow yourself the ability to just pause, to take a deep breath, and to really, really know that you can do life differently. It doesn't have to be as difficult, as much of a struggle. Eckhart Tolle says this all the time, is like, part of the reason to do this movie was to bring it to a broader audience, everyday people, and to help people to see that there's a way to end the struggle that we're all going through. And, it doesn't mean that people are living this way 24/7. And I love at one point in the movie where Donald Sutherland says, Milton's asking him, is like, Grandpa, do you live this way all the time? Are you always present? And he said, sometimes, I'm here now. And I think that's the essence. you know, of the movie. It's just the essence. And I feel like just noticing and being aware of, even if it just starts with like, wow, I look back and I for a second, and looking back is helpful sometimes when we're trying to understand things. But can I be here now with the person that I'm with? And I really appreciate you, Andrea, for allowing me to be here with you and with everyone else to share this. And I really hope that this movie has an impact and makes a difference in other people's lives the way it has for so many so far.
I know it will. I know once people see it, they'll be floored. And we're going to share all the links that are going to be on the speaker page, and you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to get access to the curriculum guide. So I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. Thank you again, Dr. Reed. We so enjoyed our time with you.
I am very, very glad to be here. And I also want to just share with people that if you're interested in bringing this to your schools, to your organization, I've had the good fortune of being able to travel and talk to a number of different people and places. And it really does. It's amazing how much people really gravitate towards it. But if you have other questions, my email is on the very first slide. And Andrea also knows how to get in touch with me. So again, thank you so much for having this Parent Empowerment Summit, Andrea. I think it makes a huge difference for everyone.
Thank you.